Welcome to Brilliantly British. My name is Lawrence and today I'm going to show you how to make a delicious Scottish Ecclefechan Tart. So as I show you how, please sit back, relax with a cup of tea in hand, putting your feet up too, and enjoy this episode. Oh, and don't forget to subscribe. Ecclefechan is a small town in the south of Scotland, known for being the place where this simple looking tart was conceived. However, this modest looking tart, consisting of dried fruits, whiskey and nuts, flavour-wise more than compensates for its simple appearance. With this in mind, in this episode we'll be showing you how to prepare this unique British dessert, followed by a session of tasting at the end. So, without much further ado, allow me to introduce the ingredients to you. For today's Brilliantly British Ecclefechan Tart, you will need some whiskey, some light muscavado sugar, some caster sugar, some sultanas, dry sour cherries, some walnuts, some butter, and orange candied peel, both of which you can try to make yourselves by following the link up there. You will also be needing some plain white flour, some eggs, cinnamon, followed by a pinch or two of salt. That's it for the making of today's Brilliantly British Ecclefechan Tart. But, before you get started, before you do anything at all, I say switch on your kettle, brew yourself a nice cup of hot tea so that you can sip on that whilst you bake. After hydrating into a suitably sized jug, turn in your dried sour cherries and sultanas before pouring in whiskey, making sure that enough has been added to fully submerge your dried fruits. You'll then want to place the jug to one side for now, providing ample time for the fruits to soften and absorb the wonderful flavours of the whiskey. Moving on to the short crust pastry, which can be made by hand, or in my case, with a food processor. I'll first drop in cubes of cold butter, then plain flour, a pinch or two of salt, and caster sugar before blitzing into a sand-like mixture. Thereafter, into my sand-like mixture, I'll then incorporate a beaten egg, watching carefully in order to determine whether or not it will be enough to bind the contents together. In my case, a tablespoon of cold water was needed in addition to sufficiently bring the contents together, forming my sweet crust pastry dough. Once formed, turn the pastry out onto a floured work surface and then gently knead in order to bring the dough together and form it into a ball. The dough will need to be rested and chilled, so I'll place it into a flour-lined container, which will then be set in my fridge for at least an hour or overnight. Meanwhile, after a quick tea break, I'll then recall my fruit and whiskey mixture, which I'll pour into my food processor, along with my eggs, a pinch or two of salt, cinnamon, light muscavado sugar, and melted butter. I then unsuccessfully attempted to blend the mixture, making a moderate mess in the process. Fortunately though, my hand blender was a suitable alternative, which yielded this fragrant, coarse mixture, to which I added my diced candied orange peel, before placing to one side to attend to my pastry. Just before proceeding, I recommend beginning to preheat your oven in preparation for the pastry. I'll also be baking within the following pan, dimensions of which will be mentioned in the description of this episode. And so, with that said, on a well-floured work surface, roll out your pastry to a thickness of 5 mm and then delicately tuck the pastry into your pan, not forgetting to prick the base and sides to mitigate against bubbling. Before baking, line the pan and its contents with a crumpled piece of baking paper, weighed down with baking beans or rice in my case, and then topped with a sheet of foil to prevent the rice from browning. With that done, blind bake the pastry for an initial 15-minute stint, and 5 minutes later, chase your tart pan with a tray of walnuts, which should be toasted for no more than 10 minutes. With some free time on your hands, I'd suggest taking a well-deserved tea break, which should be complemented with an episode or two from the channel, making sure of course to like and subscribe. Thank you. With the walnuts ready and your tart base sufficiently blind baked, Uncover the pan before baking for a second 15-minute stint to cook fully. In the meantime, coarsely chop your walnuts and fold into your set-aside tart filling from earlier on, completing your Ecclefechan Tart filling. Perfect. After a second stint of baking, remove the pan from your oven and immediately turn the temperature down in preparation for the following bake. Swiftly remove the unseemly trimmings from the tart pan, being careful not to burn yourself or allow them to go to waste, before pouring in your tart filling, which you'll want to spread out and level before simply returning to your oven to bake low and slow. As I said earlier on, the scraps are far too good to be wasted, and so feel free to snack on them with a cup of tea as you wait for the tart. Once ready, remove it from the oven and allow it to cool completely or until warm. And so, with a fresh Ecclefechan Tart made and a cup of tea at hand, I think it's high time for tasting, tasting, tasting. Are you ready? Are you steady? 3, 2, 1. Wow. Oh, this is amazing. Right, I really need to compose myself. I have goosebumps. Whew. The immediate flavor that hits you is fruity, and before you go on and say, you know, that's really obvious because obviously it consists predominantly of dried fruit, it's a very distinct fruity taste, almost like a very good aged wine. It's fantastic. This is something that almost has Christmassy elements to it. It's just so deep, fruity, fragrant, aromatic. The moment you just bite into it, it just wafts in your mouth with all of these lovely aromatic flavors, and you've got texture in there that coming from the ground up fruit and from the walnuts, which are lovely and appreciated in my case. You've got the lovely hint there from the orange, the candied peel, and the pastry. Pastry is something that needs to be experienced. I cannot describe it. It adds a lovely crunch, a nice snap, and it's just fantastic when you pair it with a cup of tea, of course. So look, my words, I hope, have done some justice to this modest, unassuming looking tart. I really, really implore you to go out, get the ingredients and make this tart. Please, please, please make this tart. Thank you, thank you, thank you all for allowing me to show you how to make an Ecclefechan Tart. Knowing that you loved this episode, please don't forget to click on the like button, the subscribe button, and the notification button so that you don't miss any of our new releases. Tell everyone you know, and I mean everyone that you know, about the Brilliantly British food on this channel, and follow us on all of the social media platforms that this channel is on, and I will see you next time.